When it comes to successful horror games, Subnautica is one that is almost guaranteed to come to mind. The game, which received insane critical success and a sequel 4 years later, has been heralded for its almost textbook environmental storytelling techniques, as well as an immersive open world, abundant with different flora and fauna, residing in deep open seas and cramped caves, all of which won it PC Game of the Year in 2018 at the Golden Joystick Awards. Above all else, however, the game gained a notoriety for being underwear shittingly scary, whether that's thanks to YouTubers like Markiplier or DanTDM playing through the games on their respective channels, or clips like these.
Is he behind still? Oh, okay. Let go!
So, the question I propose to you today: what makes the crystal clear blue waters of Subnautica so damn terrifying? One of the causes of Subnautica's fear factor is the result of many of the natural fears of mankind, phobias if you will. The game goes out of its way to populate the planet with as many traditionally scary things as possible. This is definitely a result of Subnautica's diversity of subaquatic biomes and caverns. Most of the somewhat realistic looking creatures are based upon common fears, for example the crab snakes and crab squids. Those two are both found in areas crucial to the game's progression. Crab snakes are found in the jelly shroom caves, an early game cave system which allows you to scan important blueprints for base building and harvest resources. The crab squids are found in the deep Grand Reef, which you are required to dive down into in order to reach an abandoned Degassi base and one of the entrances to the Lost River, where the majority of the late game takes place. It seems like, during development, Unknown Worlds made an intentional effort to design the hostile fauna of 4546B after some of the most commonly feared animals in Western society, so that encountering them, even if they aren't relatively dangerous, triggers a fight or flight response. Although Subnautica definitely takes a lot of inspiration from the seafloor of our home planet Earth, there is a whole other element which only exacerbates the constant dread the players experience while exploring the deep dark depths: the unknown. There's a reason that pop culture has been obsessed with aliens ever since the moon landing. The idea of a whole other intelligent species out there waiting to be contacted is fascinating, but also absolutely terrifying. This is an idea that the developers play with, slowly feeding you clues about the abandoned alien structures, and an example of the environmental storytelling which I described earlier. The game's decision to drip feed you information like so, through the medium of PDAs and scans, allows you to write your own narrative, and in the isolation of the deep blue, you can attempt to figure it out for yourself. Talking of the ocean environment itself, Subnautica juxtaposes the big, agoraphobic ocean with narrow, claustrophobic caves. The deeper you go, or the further into the caves you travel, the greater an overwhelming sense of dread comes over you. Now, with me, I'm pretty desensitized to fictional horror, but I still find myself in a cold sweat playing this game at 3 AM. This fear is a weapon that the game uses against you. After your first Leviathan encounter, you never know when one is going to show up again, and I bet you it will, because they are everywhere. The game lulls you into a false sense of security by beginning in the relatively safe shallows of the ocean and slowly nudging you towards the Aurora crash site, where you are almost guaranteed to encounter a Reaper en route. Employing a traditional jump scare technique, the shock of encountering one is definitely scary, but passes quickly. The thought of it happening again, however, sticks with you. When you're in range of a Leviathan, even if it isn't aware of your presence yet, it will make ambient screeching and screaming noises. If you learn to associate these with the big fish, you'll find yourself reacting to the noise itself, even if you aren't actually in any danger. A sneaky trick that Unknown Games employs is making much less dangerous creatures make similar noises, or at least equally as loud, meaning that you always feel under threat, and you can't tell whether the ominous cries are a harmless stalker or a Reaper Leviathan. These are accompanied with messages such as
detecting multiple Leviathan class life forms in the region. Are you certain whatever you're doing is worth it?
Almost encouraging you to turn back and retreat to the safety of the shallows. In Subnautica, you're given little to no means of offense to protect yourself, which leads to most strategies being a combination of running and hiding. This was an active decision on the part of Unknown Worlds after some tragic events in their home country of the USA. They decided to stay away from the FPS genre that they had started out in, and vowed that their next game wouldn't contain any sort of firearm or gun. This is surprising, seeming as they had made their name with the natural selection games, which are canon to the Subnautica universe, by the way, where you played as a marine fighting against infection monsters, the same infection which you cure yourself of in Subnautica. This, however, leaves us in an awkward predicament on 4546B. You are faced with almost insurmountable odds of death, without any weapons, except for a knife designed for gathering to protect yourself with. This, therefore, leads to a sense of helplessness. It's like you're completely at the mercy of the ocean, and your only option is to evade and avoid. This is especially true in one of the final areas of the game, the inactive lava zone. It's here that you'll find the sea dragon Leviathan, the largest and most dangerous creature you can find, except for the Emperor, of course. These things are huge, and you're locked in a large but enclosed subterranean cavern with it. This means that unless you want to get smacked around, you're forced to skirt along the edges in a prawn suit or upgraded sea glide, a prime example of Subnautica forcing you to improvise instead of tackling everything guns blazing. Quick tangent, I couldn't work out to fit this into the video's structure, but Subnautica has a pretty crazy amount of fog, which sounds weird seeming as it's all underwater, but I stumbled across this video by The Darkest Depths when I was researching and gathering clips for this video, and which shows it without, and the fog helps to amplify the feeling of helplessness, as it limits the player's vision, and as we know, the best way to make someone scared is to take away their senses. In conclusion, I believe that Subnautica's fear factor is the result of Unknown Games Entertainment's efforts to prey upon the deepest fears of the player, exposing them to the true dread of the murky depths down below. I really hope you've enjoyed this bite-sized video essay. I'm really trying to improve on my editing style and script writing with every video, so please feel free to like and subscribe if you want. It would mean a lot to such a small channel like mine, and I will hopefully see you again in the next video.